A fire blazed in a hearth, warding off the chill and casting the parlor in shades of red and black. I sat across from my grandfather, my back turned against the cold dark. On the end table between us sat a box of matches and a flashlight. Grandfather sat with a wool blanket across his lap. He lit his pipe and blew out the match. Then, he began to speak in a voice so low I could barely hear it over the crackle of the fire. I came to these mountains as a young man, long before I met your grandmother. I worked as a farmhand in the valley, picked apples in the orchards, plowed fields, fed livestock. Hard work. The pay was good during planting and harvest, not so much during winter. I had a different job at the end of each year's first frost: hunting wolves. The snow made it easier to track for prints, and they grow hungrier in the cold, more desperate. They began killing livestock. I've seen blood and guts spread across 100 feet of frozen ground. They can be vicious. Me and a couple buddies would hike into the mountains, each of us with a little more than a frying pan and a shotgun. Damn near froze our asses off. On my last hunting trip, we got the worst blizzard I've ever seen. It started as light snowfall, but soon the worst of it came over the mountains and blotted out the sun. It was surreal. It felt like night came early and quick. I was a few miles away from camp, checking our traps. I tried making it back, but I couldn't so much as see my hand in front of my face. The snow kept piling up. It was difficult walking, knee-deep in snow. Hell, it even hurt to breathe. The wind stole your breath and left your lungs aching. Damn, it was cold. I dug a hole in the snow with my bare hands and crawled inside. There I sat huddled up, waiting for death. I'm not religious, you know that, but that night I talked to God, and He talked back, howling, in the wind, screaming through the trees, inside my chest, that accursed howling. It sends chills down my spine to this day. I don't remember the rest of that night, and I think that's for the best. When I woke the next morning, I stumbled out of the snowdrift and brushed myself off. I had made it to camp after all. But my companions were dead. Their frozen bodies were nearby, sprawled around the campsite, and their insides were splattered everywhere, frozen and congealed. Intestines and other viscera hung in the trees like hanging meat at the butcher. Blood dripped off branches as crimson icicles. Encircling around the bodies and tracked throughout the gruesome scene, wolf prints. Of course, the question everybody asks me is how I survived. When I made it back to town, I claimed I didn't know. In all these years, I've held to that. Even your grandmother, God rest her soul, didn't know the whole story. I suppose I'm only telling you because I'm afraid to take such a terrible secret to the grave. The truth is, when I woke up that terrible morning, I was covered in blood. It wasn't mine, and the tracks were too big and too similar to be from a wolf pack. It wasn't God I met that night, but something far more sinister. Grandfather whispered these last words and then fell silent. The fire had died, embers glowing in the white-gray ash. I had leaned in during his story, and now I edged away. For the first time, I noticed the scars on his arms and hands. And before I bid him good night, grabbing the flashlight to sleep with, I noticed something else. His eyes gleamed in the dark, and not from the fire.